Her subjects had no bread. Do you know what she said?
Let them eat cake.
He took the bomb.
We're getting screwed, man. Every time we turn around, we're getting screwed. Oh, the revolution's going to be through podcasting for sure. That's the only way we talk. It's the little guys that take the brunt of everything. It's got to stop. Peasants, man. We're just peasants. Every one of us. You watch those old movies, you see the peasants in the background with the kings and queens walking around. We're those people. We're those people. Good morning, peasants. Welcome to another episode of The Peasant's Perspective. It's kind of like Groundhog's Day every time we start, isn't it?
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, peasants. Oh, yeah. It's like, we know it's time to wake up. And I know why everybody's here. Let's see. In the chats, we've got John Atakis. Good job being the first one. Good morning, Shantini. Good morning. Frazier, yes, rain in Boise this morning. Hope it is snowing in the mountains. I've noticed the mountains here have a little bit more snow in them.
Nice.
Get a little cold snap with some rain that came through. Carlito on YouTube. Good morning, Pony Boy and all. Shantini, sunshine in Michigan, but cold. And Carlitos on YouTube says, good morning, y'all. So fun. It's awesome that you guys made it. And I know why you're all here, why you pile in right at 6:30. It's because you're here for the simultaneous sip. I know why. You're here for the simultaneous sip. All you need is a cup or a mug or a glass, a tankard, a chalice or stein, a canteen, jug or flask, a vessel of any kind. Fill it with your favorite liquid. I like coffee. And join me now for the unparalleled pleasure of the dopamine hit of the day, the thing that makes everything better, the simultaneous sip. And it starts right now.
Thank you for coming in.
Thank you for
Good morning.
me. Morning to you.
Why are you gay?
All right, let's get going. Okay. Best clip on the internet right there.
Trying to make a spit take.
Yeah, I'm just trying to get Ron to spit take. He doesn't always hear what I'm going to play. And I've only got a small selection right now, but I'm always trying to gather a few more little fun clips to play while we enjoy the simultaneous sip. So today I kind of wanted to follow up on a couple stories. Every now and then stories will happen and then they kind of get lost in time and they're just a blurb, right? We feature an arrest and then we don't really talk about any of the development of the case or whatever it is. But there's a couple things that kind of developed, or I saw some development. So in fairness, I want to bring these things up. The first thing is Chuck Schumer and the shit to the tariffs. Just before we started the show, I asked you, is it possible that Donald Trump really is playing like 5D chess on these guys? So here's the story of the tariffs, right? Trump used tariffs in term one. People kind of balked at it, but he used them and it was effective. And in fact, Joe Biden kept all of the tariffs in place. Because guess what? They worked, things like bringing aluminum back and steel. And so these tariffs, a lot of them got left in place. Trump comes back in and, obviously his plan is to completely change the world order and redo the whole economic system. And so he's doing a lot of tariffs. Obviously, Norm Isom and his gang of merry men sued Donald Trump along with a couple corporations to try to get rid of the tariffs, and it succeeded. They got a 6-3 decision in the Supreme Court. We talked about this. Trump's big mad about it, right? But in the decision, they said, hey, in Kavanaugh's dissent, he points out rightly so, basically we're deciding against the president and tariffs because he didn't check the right statutory box. Because clearly he has the power of the tariff, and then they list off the other sections that he has.
Yeah, we're just being super ticky-tacky.
Super ticky-tacky. You can't use the IPA tariffs. You either cut trade off or allow free trade. I was like, all right, so we'll use these other tariffs. The thing about the IPA tariffs is the IPA tariffs allowed Congress to kind of readjust them because they were based on emergency orders. And of course, Congress can override emergency orders. And they just maybe weren't as strong. There was always this kind of question. I don't know if it was really a question. It was like obvious the Supreme Court could decide to allow it because if you can eliminate trade, you'd think you could restrict it with a tax, right? Mm-hmm. So, but point is they gave him other ways to use tariffs. These other ways are more strong. They're a stronger tariff. Okay. They can't really be overturned unless they actually change the law. They just can't vote away an emergency order. And so Chuck Schumer and the Democrats were originally really excited about it, but he got on the Senate floor yesterday and he said this, and this is why I wonder sometimes if Trump plays 5D chess, because in the process of this lawsuit and people opposing the tariffs, thinking they had a chance to get rid of them, it exposed a lot of people. The Mitch McConnells, the Mike Pences, the lawfare crew, all these Republicans that got squishy on tariffs. In fact, Trump unendorsed somebody because they spoke out against the tariffs.
We in a quorum?
We're not.
Mr. President, Americans breathed a brief
Americans breathed a brief sigh of relief last week when the Supreme Court knocked out Trump's harmful tariff proposals. Americans are suffering because Donald Trump is
He's just too slow, so I'm speeding him up for you guys.
raising tariffs. People pay more for so many daily goods, so many groceries, for cars, for homes, for everything. And the American people hate the tariffs because they know it's raising their costs. And so, for a brief moment, there was a sigh of relief that you heard from one end of America to the other, because the Supreme Court correctly said the president can't raise tariffs on emergency basis, only the Congress can. But Donald Trump, who is in a bubble, has no understanding of what the American people need, feel, or want, reimposed the tariffs right away, and then he one-upped it, doubled down on it, and raised them again. And now Americans are back in the same position they were before the court decision.
Which is what Trump said that you would be back in if you overturned these tariffs. He always told you we're still doing them, right? So America's breathed a big sigh of relief. One of the funny things, we're going to go back to that video, so keep your finger on the switch.
On it.
But one of the funny things is, right, there was these pre-pending lawsuits to get a refund on the tariffs.
Right.
Except these guys have been saying that it's a tax on the American people and the businesses don't pay it, the customers do. So do the customers, are they going to pass that refund on to their customers that they allegedly jacked up prices for?
Right.
Just saying.
Higher prices, more inflation, harder to afford things, harder to pay the bills. And a good chunk of that increase, the difficulty in paying the bills, is because of Trump's tariffs. Democrats will not stand for it. And in fact, the new tariff regime that Trump put in must expire in a few months and needs Congress's approval. I am here to tell Donald Trump and the American people, we will not extend those tariffs, and they will expire in a few months. And hopefully then Republicans will join us in not allowing Trump to raise tariffs, which so raise costs for the American people. Tariffs are highly unpopular among Democrats, independents, and Republicans. Donald Trump in his bubble does not understand the burdens he is imposing on American families, but we Democrats do. And we will do everything we can to stop these odious tariffs that are causing so much harm, so much pain on American families. I yield the floor.
But are they, Ron? But are they? Do you feel injured by tariffs? When you go to the store, do you think, oh my gosh, these prices are out of control? I don't. I haven't noticed anything like that. I mean, I felt that a little bit like 2021, 2022. Mm-hmm. I don't really feel that way today. Like, I feel like prices are pretty stable.
Yeah, I mean, they're not moving around wildly like the stock market or anything.
Yeah, I mean, you're not going to see prices drop on everything. Obviously, there's the line item things, eggs, gasoline.
Right.
But I haven't seen
the price of Bitcoin and gold is still more volatile than anything else.
Yeah, I haven't seen like prices dramatic. In fact, I've seen prices drop. TVs are at like an all-time low. They're giving those things away over at Walmart. 32 foot 32-inch TV for like $98. It's like unimaginable. So another story to follow up on is this Peter Mandelson story. Peter Mandelson was the Secretary of Business in the UK. Then he became the ambassador to the United States. He's part of Keir Starmer's kind of inner circle. Apparently, Keir Starmer's some type of mentoree or something like that.
What's his name again?
Peter Mandelson.
Okay.
He was the ambassador to the U.S. He's the one who called, Jeffrey Epstein his best friend, blah, blah, blah.
Oh,
and he had to resign.
Yeah.
Well, we've already seen Prince Andrew get arrested, and they investigated his properties on suspicion. And now Peter Mandelson yesterday, guess what?
Because we can now confirm that the Metropolitan Police are saying that Peter Mandelson has been arrested. Because we can now confirm
that has been arrested. This guy was an ambassador just weeks ago.
Wow.
Now, the reason he was arrested is not because of things he did with kids. It's not because of partying at the island. It's because he leaked classified information to Jeffrey Epstein.
Well,
interesting. Now, I will be very interested because these are life in prison sentences. These are serious sentences. These are like treason, sedition type sentences.
Oh.
I would be interested to find out if their defense, now that their life is literally on the line, if their defense is, well, I'm allowed to share intelligence with an intelligence asset.
Yeah.
It'd be very interesting. So that's a little follow-up on that story. There's another follow-up on stories. There's another follow-up on a story here. This is, let me make sure I don't get this thing totally out of order. Okay, so there's this follow-up here. We talked about the judge that was arrested because he had child stuff on his computer, apparently. Apparently, he's recently sat through some cases where he just sent some people to prison for a long time for the exact same stuff. Okay, so this is a recording of a jailhouse phone call. I have a lot of sympathy in this situation here. Obviously, I've been a guy on the other side of the line on a jailhouse phone call. I understand that everything is being listened to and monitored. So you're not going to, if you're smart, you're not going to say key things about your defense to your family members and stuff like that. So this judge is talking on the phone. And as I'm listening to him, I'm asking myself, is that a possibility? Is what he's proposing a possibility? And ask yourself the same question.
There is a possibility. They're telling me this is a good possibility that I can be out of all of this, but it's going to take a couple of weeks to get me out of it. It was what it was. It was a hack, and we're having to show them that, but we're going to be okay. It's nerve-wracking to me right now because I had to resign my position.
I know.
We have a pretty good argument because we know what happened. And, and once they hear that, we have we feel very comfortable that things are going to go by the wayside. But getting it there is a slow process. There is a possibility. They're telling me this is a good possibility.
That's an excerpt from his prison phone call. We don't know to who, to a family member. It's Judge Gosnell Jr. So he's saying his computer was hacked and stuff was placed on it. Okay. What's the possibility of that? High. It's high. It's a high possibility.
Yeah.
He's a judge. I mean, we have this as a confirmed fact with Cheryl Atkinson's husband. We know for a fact a government actor put child pornography on her husband's computer. And they were able to prove that it was never accessed and that it was planted from an IP address that had invaded the computer, right?
Right. But if you didn't know that.
Exactly. So here's this judge. I don't know. It's a 50-50 coin toss. What's uncomfortable about it is that there's a possibility what he's saying is true.
Yeah. That's
the scary part, right? So here you have a judge, a reputable man sitting in prison, and he's saying, I was hacked. It was planted. You know, he sounds pretty, this is nerve wracking. Yes, it is. You're in prison as a sex offender. That's nerve wracking.
He sounds sober.
Right. And he's saying, you know, it's going to take a couple weeks, but we have to prove an attack, probably an evidentiary hearing or something like that. So I'll keep my ears out and my eyes out for the follow up of that story because I don't know. But unfortunately, we live in a world where they can plant things on your computer. This is like the MO of spy novels for a long time now. Yeah. And we've seen it happen in real life. We know for a fact it happened with Cheryl Atkinson. And based on the whistleblowers, they were doing that as a matter of routine. That was a very easy way to take someone off the chessboard. Get something on their computer, get them wrapped up in that. All of a sudden, they lose their base of support. Nobody's going to give them money. They're not going to get good attorneys. You know what I mean? It's like you're screwed.
So let's just say there is something on the computer. How would we know, like if you had somebody to look at this computer forensically, how would you know if it was placed there or if it was something that he'd been accumulated over time?
I have no idea. I'm assuming, I heard Patrick Byrne one time say, when you understand the programming and code and blah, 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 you can't ever really erase anything. There's always like footprints in the fog.
Yes.
You know, and so even though you can obscure things, if you know what you're looking for, you can find the thing that's out of place or something like that. Again, this is the world
I'm saying, what I'm trying to say is I think if somebody is honest about the forensics, they could tell if this guy was a pedo or not. You know, you could just tell.
I would assume they can tell if files are accessed or not. I don't really want to focus on it. I just want to see how the case resolves.
Right. Okay. Moving on.
But anyways, this is the world we live in. AI, same thing. I mean, there's a really funny channel that they do video chats with state prisoners can do video chats. In fact, they have them in the feds too, but I know they only had them for women. They got rid of it. But anyways, you can do video chats. Okay. So in the state prison, somebody signs up to video chat with inmates, and you know, you can just get a random visitor and you get a chance to go do the video chat. And what he does is he plays for him on the video chat an AI video of the inmate kissing another inmate in prison.
Oh no. Okay?
So he shows this video to this black inmate of him kissing another, and it's AI. It's perfect reel, it's about a 10-second, 15-second clip. And the inmate is like, oh no, ain't no way. Oh, you gotta die now. You're gonna die and your whole family's gonna die. He's making threats to it. They don't delete. What is that? What is that? Where'd you get that? What is that? You're gonna die now. I gotta kill you and your whole family.
Just do some bad lip reading, man.
Yeah, it was really funny. Anyways, it's a funny channel. There's a couple of those videos. The guy calls up these inmates and shows them an AI video of themselves doing something dumb. So years and years ago, back in 2016, or actually 2017, excuse me, Devin Nunes came out of the House of Representatives and he held an impromptu press conference. This is a clip out of that impromptu press conference. I think it's important for today's context that we go all the way back to when we first got our foot in the door and a crack into what was happening behind the scenes in the deep state and the opposition to Donald Trump.
Did President Obama order any kind of surveillance of the president?
Well, we don't know. We don't know who sent the taskings. If the taskings were changed into what went into these intelligence reports, but we're going to try to find that out.
Permission to put out this information today. The Justice Department give you the okay to talk about this?
Justice Department doesn't have anything to do with this. This is information. This is information that was brought to me that I thought the president needed to know about incidental collection, where the president himself and others in the Trump transition team were clearly put into intelligence reports that ended up at this White House and across a whole bunch of other agencies. And I thought it was important for the president to know this. That's why I briefed the speaker this morning, and I came down here as soon as I could.
How many people are you seeing in these?
So what happened was he, as the chairman of the House Intelligence Committee, saw paperwork that showed that Trump and his campaign were targeted. Right. That they had been the subject of these FISA warrants and this intelligence data collection for no reason. So then he's talking about who gave the tasking, who gave the order, right? This is the moment where it's like, whoa, you're spying on a campaign and a president as his own DOJ now. It's not even from the former DOJ. And he was able to see this, went and briefed the Speaker of the House, Paul Ryan, now sits on the board of Fox News. And then he went and briefed the president, Donald Trump, and then came down and gave this press conference.
And do any of them currently work at the White House for Mr. Trump?
Yeah, well, I don't want to get into the specifics of it because, look, I was only able to see a few dozen, of which I think a lot of it does have foreign intelligence value. So let's not, there were dozens of reports that I was able to see that we're hoping that the NSA, FBI, CIA will provide, because I know they exist. So I want them to provide them to our committee so that all the members have an opportunity to see what I've been shown.
What did the president tell you after you briefed him about this?
I think the president is concerned, and he should be. I think he'd like to see these reports, and I'd hopefully when we get them, hopefully they'll get them to the White House also.
This moment in time right here, when the history books come back and write this moment, this will be the moment that Donald Trump and his MAGA movement became aware there was something going on with the deep state. This isn't just a nefarious people that are wetting their whistle. This isn't just people that have money contracts. This isn't just Hillary Clinton with one policy for Wall Street, another for Main Street. This was, you're a target. This isn't just business as usual, opposition research. You won the election. Okay, let's go about our business. You're being pursued actively. This was the moment where Donald Trump turned around, came to Jeff Sessions, right? At the same time that this is happening, Mueller is getting appointed. Like there's a cascade of effect that's happening here. But because Devin Nunes stepped out and said this, it opened the door. It was like, oh, Trump's not a Russian asset. There might be targeting. Let's pull on that thread a little bit. It's the same thing I just showed with that judge. Oh, the judge is a creep, blah, blah, blah. He's been arrested. Oh, wait a minute. He says he was hacked. That's plausibly believable. Let's pull on that thread a little bit, see where it goes. Does that make sense? So for 10 years, we've been pulling on this thread. What is Russiagate? What is all this stuff? Here's the thing. We're not going to hash out all of it. That's the whole corpus of this program. Okay, we've got like almost 500 episodes now between first season and this, maybe more. I think we do have more. But point is, this story has taken a decade to unfold. But yesterday, Donald Trump met with the angel moms, parents of people who have been killed by illegal immigrants. And he met with them And he made an observation that it's important for us to remember. Our government, when it chose to target Trump, when it chose to overrule democratically held elections, right? It made a choice that set up dominoes that caused carnage in our country that can never be repaired.
I'm not talking politics. I'm just talking life. That election, it wasn't rigged. It was a rigged election by millions and millions of votes. The guy that never left his basement was all run by crooked people. COVID was a little bit of a shield. Things going on. It was rigged by millions of votes. We did great in that election. If that election wasn't rigged, every single one of the people in this room right now would not be here. You'd be home with your son, daughter, family. We had a strong border. You know, we solved it twice. We solved it in 2016. The border was bad. Nothing like it was. Beautiful compared to this time. This was legendary. In the history of the world, there's never been a border like this with millions of people. At least 25 million people. And many of them were the wrong people. Many. You know, when countries fill up the caravans, they don't fill them up with their finest. I wouldn't. And I would do exactly what they did if the United States would be willing to take all of our criminals, people, or people that don't work. But they are smart people. I got to know most of those leaders. I know them. I said, what are you doing? They said, look, it was totally open border. We saved hundreds of millions of dollars. Gave it to us. And we've done a great job. Come home, Christine, people.
He's sitting there with Lake and Ryland's family and Gary's family and a whole slew of other people. And one of the things Trump mentioned was every time I do these things, the cameras turn off. These guys literally pack up and go home while you guys start talking. Nobody ever wants to hear from you guys. Why? Because they caused this. The media that was in on the Hunter Biden laptops, Russia disinformation, the Russiagate people, the Ukrainegate people, the open border people, all of these people caused this. It didn't have to happen this way at all, right? They did that. Mm-hmm. They did that. This wasn't just about power. This wasn't about tax rates. This wasn't about tariffs or no tariffs.
It wasn't about organic migration.
This wasn't about organic migration. Right. This was corrupt from top to bottom. There's no element of what happened the last 4 years under Biden that wasn't corrupt from top to bottom. I mean, he's the autopin president. Remember, this is the guy that they try to tell us got more votes than any other president in the history of the United States.
You got the vaccination? Yeah. Are you okay? I mean, you see, no, it works. Or or the mom and dad. Or the neighbor, or when you go to church, or when you're I really mean it. There are trusted interlocutors. Think of the people. If your kid wanted to find out whether or not there's a man on the moon or whatever, something, or whether those aliens are here or not, who are the people they talk to beyond the kids who love talking about it?
Just Google it.
You got the vaccination? Yeah. Are you?
Jeez.
Plausible to me. I mean, 81 million people voted for that man. It makes sense to me. I mean, I don't know about you, Ron, but I definitely want to know if you got vaccinated. Aliens are running the place.
Just
you know what I mean? What did we just? Let's vote for that guy.
Vote for Max Headroom.
Max Headroom. He's got nothing but hot air in his head, man. That's where we're at. So our government tells us Trump's a Russian agent. Devin Nunes sees a couple papers and he's like, whoa, what's going on here? And it opens a door. And what do we find out? The whole Russiagate thing was paid for by Hillary Clinton, the Obama, Comey, Clapper, Brennan, these guys, Susan Rice, Monaco, Rumler. It conspired to target Flynn, to disrupt the intelligence network that Trump would have access to, and a good guy in that intelligence position. And who'd we end up with? Pompeo at the CIA. What was Pompeo trying to do? Assassinate people, take out Donald Trump, replace Donald Trump, right? Nothing good came of that. Nothing good. And ultimately, we ended up with that bumbling idiot as our president who opened the border and had his staff sign anything they wanted with an auto pin. So you would think, hey, now that just a normal peasant like me can run through the story And if I wanted to, we could do all the deep dives we want to do. But last July, John Solomon got on TV and he gave us a lot of hope. This is July, Ron. We covered this. We played this clip last July. Okay. So let's pretend like we were listening to this clip today, but let's remember it was last July. So this is like 8 months ago.
And I think next week, over the next 10 days, the base who's been wondering, where's all that accountability?
The next week, the next 10 days, the base that wants accountability.
They're going to get some big surprises over the next week concerning where the conspiracy began a few weeks before Crossfire Hurricane was open and when it ended, all the way in 2024, when they were still trying to pursue Donald Trump to keep him from winning the presidency. There's a big case that's been built by the Justice Department and the FBI. It's been masked by a lot of this infighting and drama and soap opera stuff. But the truth of the matter is, MAGA base Americans are going to be happy when they see where this is all heading in the next few weeks. Kash Patel's going nowhere. I hope Dan Bongino isn't going anywhere, but I do think he's going to take some time over the weekend to think that through.
So hold on. We got 3 huge leads there.
Yep.
Number one, I want to go back. You're saying the 10-year conspiracy against President Trump to try to thwart his first term, steal the second term, and basically surround him in his second term or third victory.
Yep.
That has been an ongoing investigation that the FBI has already doing. There's a Brennan
conspiracy case. There was hinted at, Steve, in some of the media reporting, but I've got to confirm there's a conspiracy case that was open that looks at this window as a very large window. I wouldn't be surprised if we saw a special prosecutor named by Pam Bondi in the next week or two. And why does this become significant? Because
none of that has happened. No special prosecutor, no frog marches, no arrests. Sure, we've gotten a couple more documents and we've connected a couple more dots that, by the way, we already had connected, but now we just have like a piece of paper that tells us it's connected. So how long do we wait? What's holding up the accountability? John Solomon, who's your lead source? I recommend not using them anymore. In fact, I really like the advice. If your lead source steers you wrong, you have to name them and shame them. If they steer you right, you go to prison protecting their name. Right? So, John, you've been the Russiagate guy who admittedly have given us a lot of information that allows us to see the full picture. But I can't remember any of his predictions as far as accountability coming true. But you know what he's really good at? Rope-a-dope. It's really good. Here, a couple more weeks. Sit back, sit tight. Just do your tweets.
So
sit back, sit tight. We got this.
Are we being led around with a flaxen cord?
Clearly. Clearly we're being led around. Clearly they're running the clock out. If last May, July, June, what did I say? June, July?
July.
If last summer, you're saying 5,000 people inside the government have been fired that were part of weaponization of government. Okay, cool. And we've got the conspirators and we've got a grand jury. Well, we know the grand jury's been impaneled, right? So we know there's some progress, but we've also seen other cases have progress and then go, like the Mueller case, the Jack Smith case. Like they had cases too that, okay. So are our cases just gonna to nothing?
Yeah.
8 months? You said 10 days. You said there would be a special prosecutor appointed. And we're seeing nothing. Do you remember when they told us Jeffrey Epstein hung himself?
Yeah.
And do you remember when he told us he hung himself with a noose? And do you remember when Kash and Dan came out on TV on multiple occasions and said, we've looked in the file, Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. I don't know what you guys want us to do with this. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, turns out we found out from the medical coroner that he was under a non-disclosure agreement, and his determination was that he did not kill himself. He was strangled. Okay. And the FBI then admitted that the noose that they collected was not the noose that he killed himself with, but there's no second noose that anybody's mentioned. So how did he kill himself?
So weird.
We saw missing footage on the videotape, and then in the Epstein files, the missing footage came out, and there's an orange figure walking up the stairs. Orange, by the way, is the color they put you in prison. Okay. So there's an orange figure walking up the stairs, but at the same time, there's FBI notes saying they watched the footage but couldn't identify the orange figure because it's just, a
So there's a lot of super convenient, like, going on.
There's a lot of super convenient, these are the facts, and then there's a lot of backing off the facts afterwards. But there's no backing off the conclusion. Jeffrey Epstein killed himself. End of story. Why do you keep asking about this? Why can't we move on? Don't you know it's a hoax? Right? I mean, he trafficked people to nobody. Just leave
Are we
us
still
alone.
talking about this guy?
Yeah, so Alex Jones, our fearless hero. Okay. I've gone through phases with Alex Jones, right? He's entertainment. I view it as entertainment. And for years, I viewed it as entertainment. Let's exercise our thinking muscle and kind of, critique the state.
They're making the frogs gay.
They're making the frogs gay. We're going to have a vaccine program to kill everybody. Well, until the vaccine program came around to kill everybody, I just thought it was like, like going to church and learning about the rapture. It's like mental masturbation. You know what I mean? Like there's not really any, like the rapture's not likely coming this afternoon. You know what I mean? But it's fun to think about it. That's kind of the category I put Alex Jones in until all his documentaries and movies started being proven true. Why? Because they were based on their white papers and their research stuff that were saying, this is what we're going to do.
Yeah, sometimes I feel like we're on Independence Day and we're standing at the shoreline watching the wave coming. It's like, okay,
all right,
we're gonna have some indictments. Okay.
So Alex Jones has been on top of this stuff since the beginning, right? I mean, remember, he broke into Bohemian Grove and watched them burn a person in effigy.
Yeah,
you know
like
what I mean?
when I was
like,
in high school, maybe.
Yeah, he's been doing this for a while. So his staff have been going through the Epstein files. A lot of this stuff goes viral. What's really great about the internet now, Ian Carroll was talking about this, right? The internet has gotten really good at, they put something out there and sometimes there's a fake news or there's a side quest that kind of goes crazy. But really quickly, the internet, the anons, everybody out there grabs it, analyzes it, deep researches it. In fact, Kash Patel was commenting how he and General Flynn during the years in the wilderness were wildly impressed by open source online researchers, anonymous researchers. He's like, they are like a full-fledged intelligence agency. If you just put something out on the internet, they'll dissect it. They'll tell you where the picture was taken. They'll do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Yeah, I think this is where the idea of community notes came from.
Yes. Yeah. You put enough brains on it, the truth will reveal itself because enough people look at it. So Alex Jones being on top of this, he is pulling some of these reports out. Listen to some of the things that they're talking about surrounding this Epstein stuff.
First email in the Epstein dump of a month ago has the DOJ Assistant U.S. Attorney talking about how Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. Right after he's murdered. I am AUSANEDNY and I'm working on the investigation into the death of an inmate in the Brooklyn MDC. The email reads, written by the individual who's...
The date on here, 11 June 2020. He's been dead since 2019. So after their death, you have a FBI agent, Assistant United States Attorney. That's what AUSA sounds like. These are prosecutors, okay, from the Eastern District of New York, working on an investigation into the death of an inmate at the Brooklyn MDC.
Wow.
In agreement in connection with the investigation into the murder of Jeffrey Epstein. We were hoping to extend a similar agreement. What agreement? He says, the OCME told me that it signed a confidentiality agreement in connection with the investigation. We were hoping to extend a similar agreement. I wanted to see if you could share the agreement or boilerplate version of it.
Oh boy.
Hey, I'm just covering something up. And I saw that you guys did an effective cover up with the murder of Jeffrey Epstein. I was just wondering if I could get the boilerplate document for that.
Because we need more cover
for you. Some of this stuff should hit you like a freight train.
Oh, jeez.
Remember, these are the same assholes who put me in prison. Sorry, Dad, Mom. These are the same people, the same ilk. Hey, we're covering up another murder, and I wanted to know about the paperwork you used to cover up that really high-profile Epstein murder last year. Do you mind sending me over your draft copy? And you wonder why the judge is like, I think they put child pornography on my computer. I don't know if he's innocent or guilty. But do you trust the system to tell you if it's true or not? You're looking right here at a Assistant United States Attorney. This is the person that will be sitting across the table from you prosecuting you and putting you in prison. That's this person, an AUSA.
Name was redacted, identifying themselves as a DOJ attorney and to a recipient whose name was also redacted. Well, here's one for you, Massey. We're not blaming you, but they redacted it. You have the power to unredact. Go get it. The office of this is the email of the chief medical examiner told me, which came out public, that it signed a confidentiality agreement in connection with the investigation into the murder of Jeffrey Epstein. The murder of Jeffrey Epstein. We are hoping to extend a similar agreement, and I wanted to see if you could share the agreement or the boilerplate version with it. I am happy to speak over the phone if that's easier. The revelation that Epstein's death may have been investigated as a murder as late as 2020, when President Donald Trump was nearing the end of his term, rattled some journalists, many of whom Monday flagged the email in shock. So I'll put the email up too. So that's where we are, ladies and gentlemen. We just did. And I didn't even get to all the emails about human smuggling, buying babies, raping people, torturing people, just new ones that I found today. The crew gave me. I mean, it is bonker town.
Bonker town.
Alex Jones must be one of the most troubled people on the planet. You know, he's like seen everything.
This is one of the unfortunate things when you get a couple conspiracy theorists together who all believe they're pursuing truth.
Right.
You're very destabilized.
Mm-hmm.
You're very destabilized because you see some of this stuff and you're like, I can't be the only one that sees this.
Mm-hmm.
Surely there's an AUSA out there that would be interested in this information. Surely somebody would want to stop this criminal behavior, ranging from fraud to money laundering to trafficking. Somebody?
We would all hope.
Anybody? Nancy Mace was on with Piers Morgan, and she sounds kind of black-pilled. I kind of get it.
Do you think there will be arrests in America?
No, I don't. I have no confidence in our justice system. I think it's a system of injustice. I think the way that these victims and others get justice are seeing people, if they're not going to go to jail, be removed from boards, be publicly shamed out of civil society, lose their companies. You're starting to see some of that. The dominoes are falling, but they're not falling fast enough. And that's why I'm really intent on getting all the files out there. And I don't believe there's any more investigation. There are not going to be any more indictments because I believe Epstein was an intel asset, maybe of one or multiple nations. And that's why our country protected him and the information and videos and audio that he had on other world leaders. But until people go to jail, people want justice. And that's the only way we're going to get it right now.
You got to remember, they've arrested 2 people in the UK, one of them being a freaking prince. Because they gave classified information to this guy who she's saying is an intelligence asset. So are you not allowed to share intelligence stuff? Or is nobody going to claim him now? Is all of a sudden Epstein not intelligence? What are you talking about? Clearly, that's what's going on here. And the thing is, I heard someone say one time about the rot that happens when you involve yourself or you're complicit in crimes like this. And the rot makes it so you're unable to otherwise act when truly horrible things happen here. So this is a statement from Robert Lowe, the MP in the UK. He's running for prime minister. He's kind of created his own political party. Esther McGeevy, Graham Smith, and Sammy Woodhouse. So these guys are all prominent MPs, or one of them's a barrister. That's an attorney. These are all prominent MPs. And I'm going to read this, and it's a little bit hard to read, but there's been Tommy Robinson and others have brought to prevalence these UK rape gangs going on. Now we talk about these elite circles of rape gangs and whatever's going on there and how they use blackmail. But if you're doing that at the top, you're probably less inclined to clean up similar things that are happening down at the bottom. Our inquiry panel has heard extensive and deeply distressing testimony from a survivor detailing prolonged extreme abuse, exploitation, and trafficking beginning in childhood, continuing over a number of years across multiple locations in the United Kingdom. The panel wishes to place on the record that we regard the testimony with the utmost seriousness. The survivor has provided detailed, consistent, and specific evidence over a long period of time of engagement with our inquiry. She will remain anonymous and she is safe. She has made it abundantly clear that she wants the country to know her story, that her decision and her decision alone, elements of her accounts have been independently corroborated through thorough presented documentation and vast evidence. The panel is aware of additional material and supporting evidence that strengthens the credibility of the survivor account and warrants urgent and comprehensive investigation and statutory authorities. The gravity of the allegations, we have thought long and hard about whether to release the following information. We believe, as it does, that the public deserves to know the truth about the rape gangs. The survivor's violent gang rape and abuse began at age 12. She was raped multiple times per day over many years. The rapes were filmed and were used as blackmail. The survivor has stated that multiple police officers were active perpetrators. Money was exchanged openly, and this destroyed her ability and willingness to seek help. Police vehicles were used to traffic her, and some of the abuse events were called cop nights. The extreme pain she suffered included film torture in places called red rooms. The torture included waterboarding and strangulation by rope. Distressingly, she was raped by a dog, filmed and forced to rewatch the footage as men placed bets. The coordination of this specific type of abuse was predominantly perpetrated by Pakistani heritage men. During this specific period of abuse, she witnessed the murder of at least 3 girls, one of whom was allegedly killed as punishment for speaking to the police force. Agencies made a number of referrals to the National Referral Mechanism. She received positive grounds in 2018, but was not made aware of the status until 2021. She finally received conclusive grounds in 2023. That's like standing. The survivor is understandably wary of reporting the matter to the police, so this panel is seeking an urgent meeting with the Home Secretary, including the survivor, to ensure that the government is fully apprised of the seriousness of the evidence and to discuss the immediate steps required to ensure the survivor's protection and preserve evidence and to secure justice. The overriding priority is safety of survivors and the pursuit of truth and justice without fear or favor. We believe, along with the survivor herself, that the British people deserve to finally know what has been inflicted on innocent young girls in British towns and cities for many decades. The Rape Gang Inquiry. Unbelievable to have to read that. And we've known it's going on. It's the worst part of humanity. And the thing is we're seeing it. It's not just the Pakistani rape gangs. We're seeing evidence of this exact same behavior with the Home Secretary and the ambassador and the, number 2 cabinet in UK. They're doing the same thing. And you wonder why they've just allowed it to happen for 20 years and done nothing. What about our country? What about our country? Is this happening in Dallas? Is this happening in these places? Is this happening in Minnesota? I hate this topic. I hate it with every fiber of my being.
It's really ugly.
But to the extent that we see these reports and these stories that tie in with people who have power, we have to pay attention.
Mm-hmm.
You think they're going to look out for your best interest when they can't look out for a child's best interest? And I'm just talking about looking after their best interest. Imagine if that person in power actually commits pain and inflicts suffering on a child.
Ugh.
Oh, don't forget to pay your taxes. April 15th, everybody, don't forget. We have to prop up this system. You cannot let this system fail. I mean, I don't know how your kids are going to get those student loans or qualify for Pell Grants or whatever if your 401ks go down, right? I mean, absolutely. Keep sending your kids to the indoctrination platforms. Keep paying your taxes. Don't worry about it. The government will take care of it. Jeffrey Epstein didn't kill himself or anything.
Focus on the money.
This is horrible. If it's life. We as humans are not perfect. We don't have to hold ourselves to a perfect standard, and we don't hold our leaders to a perfect standard. In your capacity, though, be a representative. Do your fiduciary duty. And Tucker Carlson had on, I can't remember these, Zach Land. He had on Zach Land, and Zach Land expresses it really well.
Somebody asked me the other day, what do you think the most pressing issue facing America is? And I like taking out the spiritual, because spirituality is intertwined, but taking that out, I said, I think it's that our government is run by unelected people and we don't know who they are.
Yeah.
And I was talking
without our best interest at heart at all.
And so this idea of America first, of Iowa first, it's like, to many of us, this is just common sense. It's like, this is what the country was set up for.
What's the other form of government that's legitimate? I can't think of one. If this is a democratic republic and the government is acting in an interest that's not our interest, how is that legitimate? How is that not grounds for, anyway, right. There's no other legitimate form of government, but
Careful. How is that grounds for Watering the tree of liberty? I don't know, Tucker. Careful. Serious people are reaching serious conclusions. Serious people watching what's happening are reaching serious conclusions. Do the people that rule have the right to rule? Do they have any moral standing? And now we wonder if they even have any legal standing. If you didn't win an election, and this is a republic, a constitutional democracy, you don't have the right to rule. On top of the fact that you don't have my interest in mind and have no moral authority to rule. What happens then?
America first or Iowa first. Like that's the only option.
And how we got away from that is unbelievable. And like, look,
well, it's pretty easy to understand when you think that your leaders might be, in with the devil. And this isn't just your run of the mill, politicians are bad. How do you know they're lying? They're talking. No, this isn't that. This isn't that at all. This isn't that at all. This isn't just your run-of-the-mill politicians lying, right? It's one thing when Gavin Newsom gets up and says, hey, black people, I'm dumb just like you. Or when he sits with white people and says, hey, I'm just as smart as you.
You've written a hell of a book, and I don't say that lightly. I went through it in a quick hour and a half, almost 2 hours. And trust me, I don't read very fast, but it reads at an unbelievable pace. It's so well written. And of course, it's so familiar because I felt a little bit adjacent so much of the subject matter, but it's 18 chapters. It's an impressive piece of work, 263 or so pages.
I've never met someone with a 960 SAT that can read an 18 chapter book with 260 pages in an hour and a half. I don't know, Ron.
That's pretty quick.
You talk about a guy who can pander. This guy can pander, man. He's with the blacks. He slowed down his speech. He did that, Nicki Minaj pointed out. Gavin Newsom had to literally talk slower so you can understand me. I'm as dumb as you guys. I got a 960, my SAT, right? Now with these guys, he's like, oh, I read the book cover to cover in an hour and a half.
It's amazing.
It's amazing. Yeah. One funny thing, Gavin Newsom, in that interview where he told the black audience that he was just as dumb as they were. Again, the black audience isn't dumb, but Gavin Newsom is. So he threw some shade at Kamala Harris. Listen to this, Ron.
And for those that don't know Willie Brown, you wouldn't know Kamala Harris without Willie Brown.
What?
Kamala and I both got elected the same. And
I don't even know what that means.
You don't know who Willie Brown is?
No.
Oh my goodness. I know for certain some of our audience members do. Willie Brown was the mayor of San Francisco when Kamala Harris got hired as a prosecutor in San Francisco as a DA. And she, had a relationship with Willie Brown, and Willie Brown promoted her. And he wrote about it in his book, and she's acknowledged it. There's been questions asked, and she's
see how I connected some dots there.
She whored herself to the top. And that's what he's alluding to. You wouldn't even know who Willie Brown is, some inconsequential mayor of San Francisco, except you know who Kamala Harris is. And everybody who knows Kamala Harris knows that Willie Brown's the one who, pushed her up the political ladder, so to speak.
Got it.
Anyways, okay, down in Mexico, what happened yesterday with the cartels was quite a big deal. I guess it was 2 days ago. So Mexico is on the verge. This comes from David Paulides. Mexico is on the verge of changing forever. If the cartels realize they can take over the country, Mexico is doomed. Their leadership is bought off by cartels, which is why their president didn't want our special forces going in. They are now paying a heavy toll. Anyone with a partial brain would never travel there now, and Mexico will lose billions in tourism. Their police are scared, seriously scared of cartels and what they might do to their families, which is why law enforcement in Mexico is worthless against the cartels.
I thought the cartels already ran Mexico.
Yeah, that's what this map is showing us here.
Oh, okay.
So here's the Sinaloa cartel, dark red. Apparently, that's danger. Cartel influence very high. So you got Sinaloa. You've got the Jalisco New Generation cartel. That's the one that came out yesterday, and they're kind of laced in here. The Los Zetas and Cartel del Norte. So apparently, what was going on up until now was, Trump declared the cartels.
Can you go back to that map?
No, closed it.
I was going to ask you where the fires and stuff that we showed yesterday were kicking off.
Oh, it's in their territory.
Okay.
So Brandon Darby was on with Glenn Beck yesterday, and he had some great color to add to the situation down in Mexico. Up until now, the Mexican government has been targeting the Jalisco cartel, which I guess is kind of a weak, more moderate cartel. They're all bad. So, you're comparing like, this grapefruit is more sour than this grapefruit, but they're both grapefruit. Like, let's not forget that they're both sour, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So they're all bad, but apparently Jalisco was the easier one to pick off, and it actually strengthened this cartel that Mencho was in when they were picking it off. But now that changed yesterday. So let's listen to Brandon Darby.
What happened here is that Trump began to hit narco boats, showing that he was willing to do things that had not been done prior. Trump took out Maduro. He went down the line, and Pete Hegseth and others in the administration openly warned Mexico that you will either help do this or we will do it unilaterally because it affects our country. What Mexico began to do was to hand us, they started to crack down on cartels as a whole, and they started to hand us significant figures who we wanted. However, if you looked at it, the vast majority of them up until about a month ago, maybe 2 months ago, were all of the opposition and all of the competition to Cartel Jalisco and El Mencho. So in an effort to appease us and look like they were taking it seriously, they were actually still helping El Mencho. They were protecting him, and they were taking out his adversaries as proof that they were serious about cartels. And a couple of months ago, we started to see them going after Cartel Jalisco. They took his number 3 guy, they gave him to the U.S. quickly because the last time he was arrested, he was let go, right? Immediately, a judge let him go. And so what happened was that they realized that you're either going to do this and help us, or the U.S. is going to do it alone, and the political fallout will be horrible for you if the U.S. takes unilateral military action in your country. And they decided to play ball and to actually roll the dice and go for it, and that's what they've done. I can tell you this, if Mexico were going to become a better place, if our southern neighbor was going to get healthier, this is exactly what was required for that to happen. So this isn't the armistice, this isn't the end of the war. This isn't, Germany surrendering, but this is yesterday was definitely D-Day, right? And we definitely took land, and we definitely established a beachhead. And so I am very hopeful. I think this shows that the current Mexican president is actually trying to work with the U.S. No, I don't think she would have if it weren't for Trump's pressure. But regardless of that, this shows a serious step in the right direction.
So there's a couple of people that I follow that are like clandestine, and they're the deep anons. They're anonymous, don't know who they are, but they constantly have like intelligence analysis and tips, and it's like a 4chan post. You're like, wow, what's this? So one of them was saying that when they took out this Mencho guy, they were supposed to take him live, and somehow in the transportation of Mencho to prison, he died.
Dope.
But the computers and some of the electronics that they gathered up have already made their way to Trump's military intel, the same military intel that's kind of doing this big thing, right? Trust the military, I guess. Right, Carlitos? The military is the only way. I actually agree with that, unfortunately, but, you're going to get some Franco. You know what I mean? They break eggs and ask questions later. Let's put it that way. So anyways, they make a lot of calculated decisions. 1 man's life, 5 man's lives. They do a lot of this.
Sometimes it feels like they make a lot of omelets, but they don't know what they're putting in them.
Yeah, I don't know what they're putting in it. Yeah. So it looks to me, anyways, it was saying that they got the intel, and now we know the client list. We know who he was delivering to and who he was picking up from. Again, breaking up the chain. Jesse Waters talks about this, and he has Kiriakou on, former CIA agent. I have a lot of respect for Kiriakou because he went to prison. And, I remember that one podcast he did with the guys like, well, don't you think that intelligence, blah, blah, blah. He's like, I don't owe the government anything. They didn't help me. They put me in prison. He's like, you drank the Kool-Aid. So I like that. I like that because he has kind of the clear eyes. So let's listen to him here.
He was a former CIA agent. So the fact that they took out this top dog with help from U.S. intelligence. Does that mean the war on drugs is entering a different phase?
Oh, I think it is. I think it entered a different phase a year ago when Donald Trump said that the cartels were terrorist organizations. That wasn't just public relations. What that did is it freed up money appropriated by Congress and allowed the CIA, the NSA, and DOD to participate in these hunts. It really did change the battlefield in the war against the drug cartels.
So the cartels are retaliating. It's kind of getting gruesome. Americans are stranded there. What would happen if an American tourist was killed in this cartel warfare? What would Trump do?
That would certainly up the ante. And I think that he's very serious about protecting Americans and American interests. And I think that that we would have to become more involved if there were active threats against Americans.
Do you think that the president of Mexico is taking this seriously? I mean, this is a pretty big dog that was just obliterated. She is rumored to have relationships with cartels. They kind of help her stay in power. The fact that the United States participated through intelligence sharing, does that throw her off balance?
It may. There are elements of the Mexican government, especially the military structure, the federales, the federal police, that are actually honest. They're good partners. They can be trusted, and they are very happy to crack the heads of these cartel leaders. Presidents come and go in Mexico. President Sheinbaum isn't going to be president forever. A lot of other Mexican presidents have had the support, at least tacit support, of the cartels. It's time to let the professionals do their job.
And that's the thing, right? There's rumors that there might flat out be a Mexican military coup in Mexico. Ooh. That the government structure is just too corrupt to do it. Yep. Dan Bongino on Laura Ingraham added more color to this situation.
I addressed this on the show.
By the way, this is, if this continues, right? If by the end of this week, the car burning and the Costco burning subsides, okay. Okay, it's bigger picture, took out some people, right? But if this continues and this is our southern border, folks.
Right.
Okay, this is not going to not have impact in cities like San Diego, LA, El Paso, New Mexico, Albuquerque, like all your southern border states, Dallas, Houston, all of these states are going to have every town a border town. This can have deep, far-reaching impacts for sure. Or it could just kind of blow over. I don't know. We'll see. This is Dan Bongino.
I addressed this on the show earlier today. This is really important people understand this. Listen, cartels have always engaged in brutal extreme violence. We get that. That's not new. However, what is new with CJNG, Sinaloa, and others is the technology and the comms equipment, without giving away too many details. This was my entire life over the last year, are totally different, Laura. They're not just force multipliers. I mean, you go from the ability to kill hundreds to the ability to kill thousands and dominate entire neighborhoods, which is simple surveillance equipment and comms that are not easy to get into. So this world is totally changed. And now you have a change in the administration south of the border from AMLO, who was into this, let's give them all hugs crap, to Sheinbaum, who's been better on the issue. There's still room for improvement. And now you see an operation like this where El Mencho gets taken out. I mean, this is a totally different world. The president's not kidding around with this Don Roe doctrine. I know people are like, oh, Don Roe, Monroe doctrine. He's not. This is not a joke to him. He is not going to let, in this complicated new world of threats, grid systems, EMP attacks, weapons, drones, fusion technology, he is not going to let people set up shop in Central South America, Cuba, and elsewhere. He's not. I don't know why people think he's kidding. He has shown no evidence that he's going to back down at all. And now you see it with El Mencho, thanks to some of our support, 6 feet deep. And, listen, sorry, man, but he found out.
It's hard to take Dan Bongino serious, which we really should, just in the administration. It's hard to take him serious when it's like Epstein didn't kill himself. Okay.
Okay.
Again, with some of the stuff we got floating around, and I'll present this when we get into privates. If you're not a subscriber to Rumble, in fact, if you can run an ad right now, Ron, it'd be great timing. Ooh. But if you're not a subscriber to Rumble as a premium member, you really should be. We're going to be covering in private when we get over there some of this alien stuff, right? I'm going to add a little
I'm just
conspiracy thought. Let's see what we got. Rumble here.
I'm cutting you off. You've probably noticed Rumble is growing fast and it's not slowing down. They're building a real alternative to big tech and puts creators first and actually protects free speech. And now there's Rumble Premium, an easy way to upgrade your experience. With Premium, you get ad-free viewing across the platform. No pre-rolls, no interruptions, just content you came for. Plus, Premium members unlock exclusive content like bonus videos, behind-the-scenes drops, and more from your favorite creators. Right now, Rumble is offering $10 off an annual subscription. Just go to rumble.com/premium and use promo code studio at checkout. That's rumble.com/premium, promo code studio. No ads, more freedom and content you actually care about. That's the deal. Pow!
And you're going to get some content you care about because we're going to make the connection between the aliens and the deep state.
Ooh.
Okay, so we're going to make that connection. Bukele, who is the president of El Salvador, is a right-wing authoritarian dictator. No doubt about it. But what did he do with his right-wing authoritarian dictator power? Rather than put the cartel's needs and possible payouts from the cartels and this idea that you're committing violence, he said, well, what about justice for the victims? And he put the victims above the perpetrators. And they cleaned up El Salvador, made it one of the safest countries in the Western Hemisphere, put a lot of people in their Seacoat jail, which is the only deterrent. These sicarios, these gang members, they don't care if they die. They'd love to die in a shootout. That doesn't scare them. These are people that have no future. These are people that have no economic opportunity. They don't think they're ever going to get married and settle down on a little hacienda somewhere. It's not happening. So they're more than happy to go out in a blaze of glory. What they don't want to do is spend the rest of their life hunched over with their shirt off in Seacoat. That is an actual deterrent. Okay. That's a big deal. So this is Bukele. I'm going to play this. I'm actually just going to go ahead and proactively turn down the volume because I'm going to have to translate it for you. But this is Bukele. The only way to solve an already existing problem with security is with force, with the strength of the state. I have said that on other occasions. Every state is stronger than the criminal groups present in its territory. There is no state that cannot fight criminals. If a state does not overcome crime, it is because the state is an accomplice or because parts of the state are accomplices. Once the state frees itself from complicity with crime and goes strong against criminals, it overcomes it. It's that simple. The state has a monopoly on force. They can always provide overwhelming force if they choose to. And that's what we, the people, when we created this country, reserved that monopoly on force for self-defense and for the government to protect you, to protect your rights, to protect your borders, to protect your civilization, your society, all of that. But if the government doesn't fight crime, it's because it's an accomplice. It's either in on it completely or parts of the government are in on it. That's what's so scary. A lot of people are familiar with Neil Oliver from the UK. He gives great monologues, in my opinion. He's very thoughtful. And I'm going to end with this in public. We're going to end listening to Neil Oliver talking about the crisis. And he's talking about the UK, but this extends to the United States and any Western country that's tied up in this Epstein nonsense, right? It explains it perfectly. And it goes back to what Tucker Carlson's guest said, the lack of confidence that the government's going to do anything, that it has the capacity to protect us. And it makes us question, does it, especially when you start considering fraud in elections, does it even have the legal right to rule, let alone the moral right? Oh,
that was me.
Okay.
Is one world government. The overarching intent is the destruction of 200 nation states around the world, bringing down any semblance of government, taking from people any notion of democracy, using religion and undermining religion simultaneously, setting one faith against another, one color against another, one creed against another, one political ideology, one sexuality, one gender against another. All of these things are being taken apart with the intention that eventually people have no faith in anything. So that they should have no faith in family, they should have no faith in their nationality, their national heritage, their religion, their heads of state, their political parties, governance as they have understood it. And then at that point, when all of that has been brought down around their ears, the opportunity would finally present itself for the Star Chamber, the one world government, to offer all of the solutions. And it's at that point, when everything clicks into place, that we would all find ourselves having been marched into or having sleepwalked into the digital cage. That's the project.
Yes. And also, do you see that them destroying what defines us as humans, our identity, our heritage, our civilization's history, is also part of the transhumanist agenda, basically? Like, if you want to roll out this transhumanist agenda, you need to destroy the human in us, right? What makes us humans at the end of the day? Our conscience, our dignity, our identity, our heritage. And probably I'm saying this is also part of the reason why they are showing us these Epstein files nowadays, emails, to normalize this type of depravity, which 180 degrees goes against our human, our values, right? Our human values.
Yes, it's absolutely anti-human in every way that you've just outlined. And I think what we're being shown, what we're being invited to look on at via the Epstein revelations, is to leave people feeling, well, there is nothing to believe in. It's inviting people to think, well, look at human nature. Look at, they're debasing to the lowest possible level what it is to be human and alive. And so with the Epstein files, they're looking at, and they're showing people, inviting people to look and say, here are your leaders. Here are the people who have reached all levels of success of every sort, and look how they live. This is your species. This is humankind. That's what they're endeavouring to make people think. They're undermining people's sense of the value of the species itself. Look at your elites. This is who they are. This is what they do. You know, it's the whole thing from top to bottom is anti-human. And yes, the transhumanist element. I put a lot of it down ultimately to fear. I think what we're dealing with in the psychopathic, parasitic, so-called elite are the most frightened people that have ever lived and breathed. And in the manner of arachnophobes who would stamp upon a tiny spider without thinking about it, simply because the very idea of a spider terrifies them, though it poses them no threat. I think some of the same anti-human reaction is there in that psychopathic parasitic class. They're terrified of their fellow human beings. They would rather the mass of them were gone. And if they can't make them gone, and I don't rule out the possibility that there's a massive depopulation agenda built into it as well. In fact, I do think there's a massive depopulation agenda built into it as well. But at the very least, they need to get us where they can see us. You know, to continue the metaphor of the spider, they need to put us under a glass.
Yes.
So that they don't have to worry about us moving about where they can't see. I think ultimately we're dealing with fear. And it's not our fear of them, it's their fear of us.
Neil Oliver assesses that the elite are just afraid of people. And just like you have people that will just kill a spider because it's a spider, that they have that same disdain for life. And you see that. You see that with the feminist movement, who are like, well, I can't have kids because it will ruin my life. So kill the kids. Kids are bad by default. Kids will keep you from achieving your dreams. You see it with the environmentalist movement. People are producing too much carbon. The cows are farting. Stop eating meat. Get skinnier. Go vegetarian. Stop doing monocrop agriculture. Don't produce enough food to feed the population. You know, on and on until you end up with death. You end up with people starving and reverting to some hunter-gatherer nomadic lifestyle, which is their utopia. That's where they want to take you.
Because of a fear cycle.
Or eating crickets. But like he said, or put you under a glass. If I can't kill you, I got to see you.
So
I got to know where you are at all times.
It's all about fear and being afraid.
Yeah, I got to know where you are at all times. Make sure you're not anywhere near my private island. So I think that's great. Now we're going to talk about another layer. What about the aliens? So let's jump over to private. You guys that are joining us, you're going to really enjoy it. If you haven't had a chance to be a Rumble Premium member, click on the link on the show and you can join us in private. It's a lot of fun. So we'll talk to the rest of you tomorrow.